changed person. Very much a lover of life, very much a lover of simple things, a teacher, an advocate, a person living his truth finally. If my friends were going to describe me, I feel that they would say kind, generous, loving, truthful. And a word that I don't think I ever would have put with myself before was strong. Self-identify with simple things. I self-identify with my dog Polar. I self-identify with my relationship with Tim, my partner. I self-identify living. I self-identify with the wonderful people I have in my life. I was first diagnosed with male breast cancer in January of 2007. I had never heard of breast cancer in men. And thankfully, I had a general practitioner and a surgeon. I went to the surgeon. I had found a lump on the left side of my chest, in my left breast. And I went to my doctor for my physical, and he noticed it and was saying, you could, oh my God, this looks like a cyst. We can have it operated on. And I was so scared of what it could be. And a typical man was like, oh, no, let's just wait and see. We'll give it some time. And within a few weeks, I noticed that my left nipple was inverted. And I knew at that moment I had to face the fear that was in me, that it could be something more than just a cyst. And so went to my doctor, gave me to the surgeon, had the lump removed. I went, and even the surgeon was saying to me, it's probably a cyst. And so I went to get the results on my own. And I had friends who were saying, don't you want somebody coming with you? And I was, it's just a cyst. Everything's going to be fine. And I remember sitting down in the surgeon's office, and the first words he said were, I wish I had better news. And I remember just sitting there thinking oh my God, what's going on? And he said to me, that they found cancer. And he goes, the lab report is saying that they felt it came from your lungs. But he said, your GP and I strongly feel that you are going to be one of those rare cases of male breast cancer. And I remember at that point, it was like everything the ears just clogged up, and all I heard was, breast cancer. Wait a minute, women get breast cancer. I've never heard of a man getting breast cancer. And in the background, I could just hear the muffled sound of the doctor's voice. And over in my head, I kept going, how did I get breast cancer? How is this possible? And finally kind of calmed myself down and, I listened to what he was saying. And he said, you are not to leave this office until you call your GP's office. He did not want you to leave without having you call him. And I did, and he was like, I want to see you this afternoon at 4 o'clock. And so I went with a friend at that point to see him. And he goes, Michael, I know what the lab report is saying. He goes, but I've been treating you for 18 years. If you had any cancer in the lung, we would know. And he goes, but just to make sure, I'm going to have you go for an x-ray the next day. And I think that was the first time in my life that I sat there and said, my God, I am so lucky to have a doctor like this. And it was the beginning of this journey of where I realized how important that relationship is. And so I went for the x-ray the next day, and it came back clear. And he then got me into an oncologist that was not seeing any more patients, but she took me in. And I just adored this woman. And I had the most, she made it comfortable for me to start going through this journey. And then unfortunately within a year or two she retired, and I was with another oncologist within that complex of oncologists. And I had a recurrence of the cancer in 2010. And at that point they put me on a drug therapy that I really was having harsh reactions to. And within a few months I made the decision to stop it and to change oncologists because we weren't clicking. And again, that was where I realized how important that relationship is. And at that point, went to a new oncologist. I had a right side mastectomy as a precaution because I, at that point, did not want to take any more drugs because of my experience. And for 3.5 years, with excellent blood work, and even to the point she was thinking of we graduated from 3-month visits to 6-month visits to 8-month visits to, she was going to just put me on yearly visits. And I started noticing a cough that was like my acid reflux cough. But it wasn't getting better once I started back with acupuncture. And because I have the BRCA2 gene, and my dad passed away from pancreatic cancer, I get my pancreas checked each year. And this phenomenal gastroenterologist that I just love. And so I was in for my yearly, in September of 2015, I was in for my yearly endoscopic ultrasound for my pancreas. And I don't know why, but somehow somebody guided me to just sit there and say to him, I've had this cough, it's getting worse, it's like my acid reflux cough, I don't understand this. He was like, Michael, we'll take a look as we go down. And when I kind of came to after the procedure, then he walked into the room and I could tell by his face that something was wrong. And I'd kind of had a feeling that something was wrong. And he just looked at me and he said, Michael, on the way down, I noticed some abnormal lymph nodes in your chest cavity. And he goes, and I took a biopsy. And he goes, I will send this out and I will call you as soon as I get the results. And this was a Wednesday. And the following weekend was Labor Day weekend. And that Friday came along, and Tim was debating about whether to go to work or not at the garden center, thinking that Dr. might call. And he goes, he'll probably call in the afternoon. He's not going to get the results in the morning. So he left and went to work in the morning, and sure enough, at 10:30, the phone rang. And it was Dr. And his first words were, Michael, can you talk? And I was like, sure. And he goes, is Tim there? And I said, no, but he's coming back this afternoon. And he goes, are you okay to talk without Tim there? And I was joking with him. I said, well, it depends on what you're going to be saying to me. And he goes, they have not finished testing the biopsy yet, but they already found cancer cells, and I was not going to have you wait this whole weekend to find out. And I remember just sitting there, and I kind of just took a breath. And he talked and he said, I am going to call your oncologist. I am not talking to the receptionist. I am talking to the oncologist. And then talked to me about, how much it has meant that he has been working with me, and how inspired he was with how I've been handling this journey with breast cancer. And I was fine until that point, because that was when I shared with him about how I knew the minute he walked into the room, the very first time, that I was in good hands, and how much he meant to me. And so that phone call ended, and that was September of 2015, that I found out that I had metastatic. And that evening, my oncologist called and had already scheduled a PET scan, which I ended up taking on my birthday, the following. But it was good, because I approached it with, I'm going to find out. So this is the gift I'm getting that day, is I will find out what I'm going to do. And it ended up being the most wonderful birthday that I ever had, in a sense. My friend John took me to the PET scan because Tim was away on doing at a gathering for garden center people, and I had the PET scan, and then we had dinner at the house with my friend John. Tim was coming home, and my friend Jared and his husband Bill, who was stage 4 prostate cancer. And Bill and I, within the year and a half that he was to be with us after that, connected even more so because of our stage 4 diagnosis. But the best thing that happened that night, which I thought is a wonderful way if I had to enter being metastatic, which I kind of knew, at that point, was we're sitting around having pizza and stuff. Bill and John were sitting across from me on the table from me and Tim. And, you get 5 gay guys together, show tunes are going to come. So Bill and John just made a comment about something about Barbra Streisand, and next thing I know, there's Bill and John singing at the top of their lungs these Barbra Streisand songs from Broadway. And afterwards, John said to me, the most wonderful thing was looking across the table and seeing this huge smile on your face, Michael. And I thought, I don't think I've ever had a more wonderful birthday. And I thought, what a way to get into stage 4. That's a good question. The most important thing in the world to me right now is life and loving life. Gratefulness. People. Love.